Hey, welcome to Market of the Moment update. Michael Oldham, Chris Madrid here today. Week of March 14th.
And this year is flying by.
Year is flying by. Today is St. Patrick's Day and beginning of March Madness.
Yes, it is.
Chris Madrid knows nothing about, obviously.
Other than that, there's basketballs involved and some basketball shoes, some teams that are playing.
The important thing,
dribbling and stuff.
He's on top of mortgage rates. That's why he doesn't know a lot about the tournament right now. He's too busy working mortgage magic.
Man, hey, getting loan submitted to underwriting and out as quickly as possible and pre-approvals and yes, all the things. Well, hey, thanks again for having me. This is our, I don't know, millionth week in a row. At least.
But I was thinking, man, like it's been great because it's interesting watching the different markets, how they're trending, why they may be trending the way they are. And then when you add interest rates to it and all those things, it makes for some interesting study anyway. So
it does.
Let's get into it. What are the current mortgage rates? It's been 2 weeks since we last got on, so God knows what may have happened. Russia's still in the Ukraine, according to the news. Here,
well, there you go.
I hear the Russians don't know that they're in Ukraine.
That's true. There's according to some sources, there's nothing going on in Ukraine. Like Russia's not invading. That's not happening. It's all fake news. Which is asinine to me, but whatever. So
last time we met, what rates were 3.8 to 4? I think 2 weeks ago.
3.9. I think we were in the 3.9 range, right? They'd been kind of in that 3.9 to 4.1.
Yes.
So again, and I'll just give a preface for the range, right? So the lowest option, right, in those ranges typically requires what's called a buy down. So normally 1 point or 1% of your loan amount will allow you to buy the interest rate down at least 0.25%, right? So if we were saying 4.1 was the high end, typically that 4.1 rate has no additional discount point cost. Where the 3.9, you're paying probably 1% of your loan amount to buy down that interest rate. So whenever you hear about discount points, rate buy down, that's what lenders are referring to. And simply put, what you're doing there is you're paying interest up front, right? So you're paying interest at closing. That would be part of your closing costs, and that would then lower your interest rate over the life of the loan. So on a $400,000 loan, right, you could take, at that point when we were talking, right, that was 2 weeks ago, you could take a rate of 4.1 at 400,000 at no additional cost, or you could pay $4,000 at closing and buy your rate down to 3.9. Now, oftentimes we hear like, well, what's the benefit of that? Well, one, you're going to be lowering your monthly payment. So off the top, that's roughly, if you're looking at a $400,000 loan and the rate's 4.125, that puts your principal and interest payment at right around $1,939, so $1,939. If you buy it down to 3.9, that would then drop your payment down to about $1,887, right? So it's a $50 a month savings. Well, $4,000 up front versus $52, over a 30-year period. I mean, you would have saved at a minimum, $19,000, right? And you only paid $4,000 up front. So that's how you would evaluate. The other thing to evaluate is, hey, am I going to stay in the home for 30 years? Probably not, right? So that's the other cat. If you're thinking, hey, I'm probably going to be in the home for 5 to 10 years, then paying that point or buying down the rate may not be beneficial, right? So those are the things that we talk about. Well, fast forward. So it is now the week of March 14th, and the buy down rate. So if you're gonna buy down your interest rate today, that is a rate of 4.375, and the par rate, so the rate with no cost, is in that 4.6 to 4.7 range. So again, the crazy thing, conversations that you and I and everyone have had, is we fully expected the rates that we're seeing now to not hit until the summer. But obviously, inflation and the other things that we keep talking about, have really moved the needle to now, man, we may be seeing 5% by summer, right? So June, July, we very well may see rates in the 5% range, or something crazy. The U.S. gets dragged into another war, then we'll probably see a dip, right? That's something that would most likely cause a dip in interest rates. The other, we're talking about trends and long-term stuff. The other thing to consider is, Ukraine's a big supplier in wheat. Obviously Russia's supplying oil, which the U.S. has taken a stance of not importing any Russian oil. As far as wheat goes, we have to consider, I think that the invasion has gone on for like 3 to 4 weeks now, right? So wheat, if Ukraine's a big exporter in wheat, no one's working, right?
Yeah.
If they're being, bombed and all this other stuff, I mean, yeah, they're definitely not working. So there's all of these trickle down effects that we're going to see again, right? That we somewhat saw when COVID first started, right? Because no one was going to work, all the manufacturing. So again, we kind of long term, right? 6, 12, 18 months down the road, 24 months even, there may be things that that you're used to seeing or used to getting that we very well may not be receiving, right? Just because of those imports from Ukraine aren't happening, or Russia, or these other places. So yeah, so that's that. The other things that I wanted to touch on as we go into escalations and escalation things in the market. Good news is builders are still building, right? They're confident about their ability to make a product and it gets sold, or get purchased rather, right? They're not worried about, hey, if we build, I don't know, 10 houses a month, those are going to sit on our books for a long period of time, right? So home builders confidence right now is very, very strong. The thing that's suffering, of course, is kind of the future outlook. Hey, are we going to be able to get supplies? Are we going to be able to get, shingles and 2x4s and, all this other, everything that goes into purchasing a home? Are they going to be able to get it? So, oddly enough, with the rise in interest rates, mortgage applications changed very little. So that means that people are still, people still need to purchase homes. And with that said, that segues us right into, rents. So, the reason that applications probably are unchanged is because, last year, if your typical rent was $1,500 in 2021, right? Let's just say, you're renting an apartment and it was $1,500, or a smaller home, your rent was $1,500. Most likely you're going to be seeing a renewal notice at any point in time for 2022 with an increase of, potentially up to $2,000.
Yeah.
Right. So if we're still seeing rent costs being significantly higher than they've ever been in the past, right? Then people still are going to apply. So again, the demand, right, for homes specifically here in North Texas, and of course other parts of the country, is not going to slow down any. So that's the biggest component.
Yeah, I mean, everything is pointing toward a market that's not slowing down, just as COVID, sped everything up 10 years. I don't know if it's technology now and how quickly news spreads, but it seems like every major event now speeds, what was going to happen up, maybe by years. So I know we were talking about interest rates we were expecting in the summer already hitting. And as we look at the housing market, we're going to see what we normally start seeing at the start of summer. That buying season and selling season is already happening, just going into the start of spring. So
yeah,
let's go ahead and take a look at our market stats for this week. It's been 2 weeks since we looked at these, so there has been some movement. So in Collin County, the average listing is selling for 5.9%, nearly 6% over list price. So last time we talked, that's a 2.2% increase. So I think last time we talked, it was 103%, somewhere in there. So and then last time we had a 7 days on market 2 weeks ago, and that's dropped by 2 days. And we're going to see that throughout all the counties we're looking at, days on markets dropping. So we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute as far as trends. And then in Collin County, the month supply ticked up half a month or 1/10 of a month. Don't know if that's a whole lot of movement, but maybe that's a small indicator that builders are getting a little bit of inventory on the ground. I know we got several buyers the last couple weeks into inventory homes that builders are working on. So moving over to Denton County, kind of our sister county here for Collin. Frisco is part Denton, part Collin County. So 104.5% or about 4.5% over list. That's up 1.6%, much like Collin County. Also 5 days on market, which also dropped another 2 days. And the month supply stayed the same, half a month supply in Denton. Dallas County, once again, list price about 1.5% over is what the average is. So that went up 1.3%. So in all these counties, you see that it's costing more to get in a home than it did 2 weeks ago by over a percentage point. Collin County over 2 percentage points. Dallas County 7 days on market and a 0.8 month supply. Also, you see days on market dropping. Grayson County up north. When we started this, I think we were at like 96%.
Oh man, no doubt.
In Grayson County, but Grayson County keeps ticking up. Went up 1.3% in the last couple of weeks to buy there. Still get under list, but just a smidge. 11 days on market, which dropped 5 days, and their month supply went up a little bit too. And that's probably because there's just more construction, more development and things starting to go on in Grayson County. Let's take a quick second and talk about what this possibly means. First of all, obviously home valuations are still going up. As we see over the last couple of weeks, what it costs to get a house under contract went up, and these numbers are misleading. Running comps the other day, like I think 2 out of the 4 comps sold at 14 and 15% over list, and they closed in the last couple of weeks. So Chris and I are working a deal together, and I honestly think the market's going up faster than the data can keep up with it right now.
Yeah, for sure.
So anyway, and then as far as days on market, several weeks ago, listing agents would put a home on the market on Thursday. They would just say right up front, sellers accepting offers till Sunday night or possibly Monday at noon. And so you had basically a 5 to 6 day on market built in right there, not to mention what it might take to get executed and those things. So that's why we probably had our 7 and 8 days on market. Now, a combination of 2 things. Sellers are getting great offers early, and so they're taking them before they disappear because of B, a lot of buyers are now, they don't want to wait around till Monday. They want to be in the ball game. So they put an offer in on Thursday, and they want to put their best foot forward. They put a deadline on it. And because if it's not going to get accepted, they want to go get in something on Friday or Saturday and get into that game. So I think these days on market dropping is probably a product of those 2 things. Sellers jumping on great offers early before it disappears, and buyers putting expiration dates on a great offer.
Yeah, and absolutely.
To accept them. So, and then we move over to our Western counties. Tarrant, 102.2%, 2.2 over list. That went up 1.3%. and 7 days on market dropped 2 days as well. And they're at a 6-month supply, or 0.6 of a month supply, which is the same. And then in Parker County, which was like Grayson, it's starting to trend more like our, what we would consider our closer to Dallas counties, or more suburbs, but 99.4%. So it's ticking up to where probably in a couple of weeks, that's going to be over 100% in Parker County to get into a home. So 1.4 months supply. Also, I know there's a lot of building construction starting to go on in these, what we consider rural counties, because they're the next place to get the land.
Yeah, for sure. It is going back to that. So you don't have to go back on the slide, but it is interesting seeing. So for those of you that are watching and don't know, Parker County and Grayson County are similarly, what's the word? As far as being rural, right? It's a similar type of location. So it is interesting seeing those numbers, and how Parker and Grayson specifically, how they are. I mean, they're essentially, man, like,
Yeah.
dollar for dollar, percentage for percentage, going in the same direction. So it is, again, you and I looking at these numbers on a weekly basis or every other week basis. It is interesting seeing how those trends in those outer areas, right? So Parker County is west of Tarrant County for all of Fort Worth, right? And then Grayson County is north of Collin County. So again, seeing these kind of the outlying areas. And I would guess if we pulled up, Kaufman County, which is out east of Dallas, right? And then what's the southern county?
Ellis and Johnson.
Yeah, Alice and Johnson County. My guess would be that it's going to be a similar trend for those outer areas. So, man, there's still great opportunities, but the biggest thing that I'm hearing is, well, I'm just going to wait, right? I mean, home price, this is a bubble. Home prices are going to come down, and I cannot beat the dead horse enough. This is not a bubble, right? We're not seeing a bubble. I wish it was. I wish we were going to see home prices crash in a year or two, and that's just not going to happen. This is purely a supply and demand issue, right? We cannot say that enough. One of the things we didn't touch on yesterday, of course, the Fed met, right? They decided, hey, we need to throttle the market. So we knew this was coming, right? It was a projected 0.25% increase in the federal funds rate, which has an indirect impact on mortgage rates. What it does impact, of course, is your credit card interest rates. It impacts, equity loans and lines of credit, student loans, anything short term. It's going to have a direct impact on those. So if you have outstanding credit cards, if you have, all these other things, get those things paid off as quickly as possible, because you are going to get notices that those numbers are going to be moving up too, right?
Yeah, and then, I would assume that affects your buying power as well, because that's going to affect what you qualify for, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Picking up on you.
Oh yeah.
That, your income's not going up, it's cutting into, what you can spend on those other things. So
yeah.
But anyway, well, I think that's a lot of great information today. We'll keep an eye on it, touch back with everybody next week. Yes. And we might have to start going live on this thing. What do you think?
Yeah, we can do it live next week. I'm good with that.
All right. We might check into that. All right. Well, we'll sign it off, and we'll see if I can stop the recording.
See you guys later.